Welcome to everyone, and thank you for joining this webinar on GeoScene3D. And we're going today to look into some of the introductions to GeoScene and the basics of it. My name is Thomas Rasmussen. I'm a consultant at IGIS, and I've been working there for about 3 years, and mainly with GeoScene3D. We have 30 minutes today, and the stuff we'll be going through here will be, we'll look into the software itself, some of the versions of it, which programs you'll get along with the installation, the UI and basic concepts, how to import and visualize data, and last but not least, when this webinar ends, how to get started yourself and help yourself along the way. In regards to questions, questions for slides, please write the slide number followed by a question in the chat here. Questions will then be followed up by the end of the webinar. Going directly into it here, GeoScene3D is a license-based software. That being said, there is a free viewer available on our webpage, geoscene3d.com. The free viewer is free to download for everyone, but the tools are limited in the free viewer. You are actually only available to navigate in projects, but this makes sharing projects to people without licenses very easy. They would be able to open your projects with if you had a license. And they will be able to navigate and see what you see. Licenses then give you access to different modules or extensions. The basic GeoScene3D basic license is just really the basics of it. Building on is getting the layer builders, so the module layer builder or the voxel builder. And last but not least, the special packages. We have an airborne EM package and a hydrogeological extension and a simulation extension. When you download the free viewer, you'll find in the software a tab called Machine ID and License. It's situated under Help. Within there, you'll find this menu. GeoScene, the way licenses for GeoScene3D are handed out is by a computer-specific machine ID. So every computer have a specific ID, which we will need here at IGS in order to issue licenses. So it's easy to easily send an email by clicking the link here, and we'll get what we need, and we'll hand a license back to you. The license can then be located by the license file location just beneath the machine ID here. You just click that and hit the license that you received, and your license will be hooked on and you can work with GeoScene3D. Just below you'll see which extensions or modules that follows along with the license. It will be showed by which of these are hatched off. When you install GeoScene3D, you'll not alone get the program, the software GeoScene, you'll also get a few other programs following along, some standalone programs. First of all, you'll get the Toolbox. The Toolbox is developed to manipulate data. And by data, I mean formats such as surfer grids, ASCII grids, 3D grids, different ASCII files and shape files and more. The Toolbox can be used to modify, convert, stack, unstack, simplify, resample, mosaic, much more. So this data manipulation and helping you with whatever you'd need in order to make your work going into GeoScene most preferable. Next, along with the Toolbox, you'll also get a Geowill database editor. This is a very simple program that just allows you to open a well database, look into it, click on individual wells and visualize those. You can hook on a legend coloring how the wells based on their lithology descriptions are shown. You can add new wells, you can modify the existing wells in your database. So it's just a simple tool to do some simple data management with well objects. Looking at GeoScene3D, the main concept of GeoScene3D is this virtual world that you are to create. So the base of it is taking all your data, putting it into this virtual world, where you construct a 3D world, making you able to navigate, inspect, and based on that, act on data the best way in reality. In this virtual world, we have 3 tools that help you navigate and inspect your data. First of all, we have the profiles cross sections, which is these 2D vertical slices. Next, we have Gis Map, which is a 2D horizontal slice, basically. And last but not least, the main thing here, a full 3D visualization of everything. So this virtual world, the way we manage data and get it into the virtual world is by taking the data into what we call a data source. From the data source, we have a data set, and from the data set, we have an object, which is what is actually the thing visualized in the 3D environment and the GIS environment. So the database management, the data management is this 3-step process. When importing data, we'll get to that later, but these will be automatically set up for you and will be linked. These 3 steps of the data management is what is the base of a GeoScene3D project. So this is what is contained within the project files of GeoScene3D. The GeoScene3D project file have the extension .gis mod. So this is what we save all your work into. Diving a little bit deeper into these concepts here, the data source, data set, data and object. So the data source is a reference to an external source of data. So it's basically just the path to your data. From the source, the data set was created. The data set is a subset of data, so that is drawn from the data source. Several data sets can be drawn, can draw information from the same data source. So one source can have multiple data sets. The object, that's the visual representation of something defined by a data set. It's what is shown on in 3D and in 2D on the profiles, as well as on the map. And once more, an object can draw information from, so several objects can draw information from the same data set. That's the data management concepts here. Moving on to some very important concepts as well. When working with GeoScene, you have to know these terms. First of all, the scene. The scene is the combined setting of all components. So everything you have in your project, that's including lights, cameras, animations, and the geological model. The scene extent is what defines the geographical area within which we are currently working, and defines what we are able to visualize in the current scene. So on the map to your right here, you can see a red square. That's basically your geographical area, the scene extent. So this is basically a constraining square where data set is being cut off and not visualized outside of this area. So we only see what's within. And the key thing here is that this actually makes huge data sets easier to work with, as we are able to only see subsets of it as we'd like. The scene extent can easily be moved around in your area, so you can work with these subsets easily moving around. The coordinate system and units are user-defined, though the default in GeoScene3D is assumed to be an orthogonal coordinate system. So everything is that is imported is as a default imported into this orthogonal coordinate system. You can otherwise define the coordinate system yourself, and as well with units. Looking here at the user interface of GeoScene3D. So in the left here, we have the object manager. And the object manager is what controls the 3D environment. So whenever you import something into GeoScene, you will find it in the object manager. It is the basic overview and control center. Just to the right of that, you will find the cameras. So this is our connection to the 3D world. This is our entrance into that world that we are to create. By the cameras, we visualize everything, and we can have as many cameras as we'll like. This gives us the option to visualize things from different perspectives. So as you see here, we have a camera showing everything from above, but at the same time, we are underground seeing data beneath. Just below, in the lower left section here, we have the cross sections on the profiles, as we also like to call them. That's the 2D vertical environment, so 2D vertical slices. You can create as many profiles as you'd like, and the profiles are simply visualizing whatever is along the line that you have digitized. So in GeoScene, you'll find buttons. There's one on the GIS map. There's also one in the main toolbar in hooked onto the 3D, where there's a profile digitize tool. You can just easily click, giving you a profile. And as I said, you can create as many as you like, easy as it is. Last, we have the GIS map. So this is the 2D horizontal environment. It's basically just a standard GIS tool. It has its own layer manager. So apart from the object manager taking everything in 3D, it has its own manager, which controls the visualization on the GIS map. Everything is interlinked and synchronized views of your data. Moving forward with GeoScene3D, everything you do will most likely give you one of these wizards. The wizards are there to help you and to facilitate the usage of the software. So the wizards are helpful and will navigate you by step-by-step guides. There are a lot of them. These are just some of the examples. First wizard that you'll meet is when you are to create a new project. So the new project wizard, you'll meet that when you just open GeoScene3D, and it will ask you to create this project. And going through the wizard, you will create a project file format of the Gis Map. GeoScene automatically creates and generates backup files for every Gis mod file. So whenever you save a GeoScene3D project, a backup file will be created that you can always go back and use. There is a default number of backup files that are created, and you can use to define this if you like. That backup file is saved to your computer as your project name.gsmap.backup. And to use a backup file, simply remove the extension .backup and it will become the project file. Going through the new project wizard, at a time to get properly started with your project, you'll need a terrain file. And that will, the new project wizard will ask for that. Along this wizard, you can choose either to import from a local grid or you can use the GeoCloud grid. So we have this option where you can go to the GeoCloud and you can choose some public portals. Here is shown the US public portal. There are also public portals for New Zealand, other places in the world. In these portals, there will be terrain files that you can just grab freely and get started in your area. Of course, the next thing, we have created a new project, we have a terrain file in. The next thing will be to add our data. So adding data is done in two ways. You can either add local data or once more you can add GeoCloud data. The local data is added by the Add Data wizard, which we see here. The wizard will be activated by hitting the yellow plus. And you'll be guided through a wizard which will help you in importing your data. There's a ton of different formats that can be taken by GeoScene3D. I've listed a lot of the main formats here. So 2D grids, 3D grids, ASCII files, databases, and other sequi files for seismics and vector themes, as well as different databases, image files. Another way to import data is once again through the GeoCloud. I've shown here the blue plus and the yellow plus. That's because there are two different GeoClouds in this case. Here now you see the Add Data wizard for the blue plus. This is managed by users. So this GeoCloud has a web interface. I'm doing a GeoCloud introduction webinar on October the 7th for anyone interested in this web interface. But this is the entrance to that, whatever data is on the web interface. Some portals like this Gis Map portal here will need passwords. Some portals are public. The next one is the GeoCloud that is accessed through the yellow plus Add Data wizard. This is a GeoCloud that is managed by IGIS solely. Now you have imported your data into your new project, and of course, data will be visualized. These are just some examples of how things are visualized within GeoScene. You see, starting from the top left here, you see wells, and along the wells, you have water quality data. So colors indicating a water quality with a label next to it, indicating that could be a sulfide concentration. Something like that. Just to the right of that, we have a well again, so two wells actually. To the right of that, you can see geophysical data. These are soundings from, I believe, ERT data. Just below that, particle traces, an example of that. To the left of that, that's a seismic profile. Beneath, we have some shapefiles on the GIS map, and to the right of that, this is just to show you that basic 3D objects like trees and houses can also be imported and shown. There's a lot of different, as for the formats, a lot of different things that you can import, and these are some examples of the visualization. When things are imported to GeoScene, they have a standard visualization. This standard visualization, default visualization, is changed from the object properties menu. So every object in your object manager, you can right-click it, click the object manager, object properties, which will give you up a menu like seen here. And the two key tabs that you should be looking for is the material tab and geometry tab. Those tabs are the main things for controlling visualization in 3D, but I will encourage you to try and look into all the other tabs as well. There's a lot of good stuff there. So we have imported data, we have visualized it, made it how we'd like to see it. The next thing in the process is to set up our project for modeling. So for that, we'll use the purple plus. This plus will open a new wizard, which will guide you through the setup data for modeling. You see that in the upper right here. You can see there are three options. I will talk a little about the point and surface model and the 3D grid model, voxel model. So the point and surface model, that's the layer builder module you'll need for this. With that, you can interpret 2D grids from point interpretation. The two ways of interpreting points in your data, on your data, you can use manual picking or you can use the semi-automatic smart annotation tool, shortly called, abbreviated called SI. The SI is developed to speed up the process of interpreting data using machine learning. And of course, you can do point interpolation. Looking a little bit more into this process, I have some examples here. So the geologist starts interpreting data. We're looking here at some AM data. And examples here, we have the water level, blue line on top. We have a first layer, bottom of that. Second layer, that's the orange. Second layer, brown. And last layer, purple. So that's how an interpretation could look like. Next step would be the adjustment. So here we adjust the surfaces to actually look like geology. So you can see on the interpretation, we interpret the water level to go above terrain, which is not natural. The adjustment will adjust that. So there are two steps to this. And you can see everything becomes more natural. Last, you'll get the final layered model using these adjusted grids. This is an example of that. That's one way to go about modeling your area. The other way is, of course, using the 3D grid model or voxel model builder. With this module, you can create voxel models. For that, you can use 2D grids, vector themes, you have shape-styled editor tools, and more. There are point cloud interpolation and data interpolation. I have also examples on this here. So here you have a lot of different examples where voxels are created for different purposes and from different data. This is an example of data interpolation. So here we have had some AM data, interpolated that into a 3D grid resistivity. 3D resistivity grid. Export formats options are similar to import options formats. So importing with Surfer grid, you can choose to export as ASCII or the other way around, whatever you like. So if you get stuck, need help, or just want more information, I'll advertise for this F1 key. So working with GeoScene3D, there is this option always wherever you are. If you get stuck, try press F1. It's a context sensitive button. So if you're about to import geophysical logs and are stuck in that process, press F1 and whatever help we have on that will be brought up to you. That will be brought up from our GeoScene3D Wikipedia page. There's a lot of good information in here. There are import guides. There's guides and everything, basically. Go look at it. It's a good place when you are to learn GeoScene3D. Of course, other than that, than our Wikipedia page, we also have YouTube. A YouTube channel where we have YouTube videos that there's a lot of good videos there as well, where they will help you as well in your whatever you are looking for, interpretation process, importing data, so forth. Perfect. Last slide here. So if there's any questions and Anything unanswered when we leave here today will be answered by mail in the following days. Questions that might arise on the next hours, the next days, please feel free to direct them straight to me on tbr@i-gis.dk. If you are interested in the slideshow, just leave a message in the chat or write me an email. I will pass them over to you. We are dealing out trial licenses for anyone interested. So as shown early in the presentation, if you like a trial license, just go ahead and download the free viewer, send us an email from the machine ID and license menu within the program, and use this promo code, and a 2 months trial will be returned to you. Other than that, it's just saying thank you for your time, and please follow us on LinkedIn for news on releases, new features, and more webinars. Thank you.